Hello and welcome to Timeless with Julie Hartman. I'm Julie Hartman, and it is great, as always, to be with you. 844-861-5537 is the call-in number. 844-861-5537 is the call-in number. And as always, you can use the chat, which I have a direct line to right here, as long as you keep it classy. That's the rule on Timeless with Julie Hartman. You know, every episode of this podcast, I endeavor to explore the greatest questions of life. Today's episode and tomorrow's episode, since we'll be doing this in two parts, will do even more of that than we already do on this show, because I am thrilled and so honored to welcome to the program today Rabbi Manis Friedman. He's also known as the most popular rabbi on YouTube. I'm sure that many of you have seen his channel or perhaps read some of his books. But his background on Rabbi Friedman, he was born in Czechoslovakia in 1946 in a Hasidic Jewish family. His father was arrested and tortured by Soviet authorities in Czechoslovakia because his father was helping Jews in the Soviet Union. Rabbi Friedman, when he was about 5 years old, moved to the United States, and he went on to receive his rabbinic ordination in Canada. And then he went on to, among other things, have 14 children. That's right. That's not a miss here. You heard me correctly. 14 children, which is just an amazing accomplishment. Rabbi Friedman is best known for combining ancient wisdom, Torah-based wisdom, with modern wit. And as I had mentioned, he has an immensely popular YouTube channel, and he has written several books, including Creating a Life That Matters, How to Live and Love with Meaning and Purpose. Rabbi Friedman wrote that with a co-author last year, and it explores all of the important questions of life, the purpose of life, marriage and parenting, and the many difficulties that one encounters in those endeavors, life, death, and how to get a deeper connection with God. Some other books that you should consider reading of Rabbi Friedman's, though every single book is hugely enriching. One is Doesn't Anyone Blush Anymore? That one Rabbi Friedman wrote in 2012. It's about modesty and how modesty relates to our sexuality and intimacy. Speaking of intimacy, another book is The Joy of Intimacy, a soulful guide to love, sexuality, and marriage. You can find out more about Rabbi Friedman's massive body of work by also going to his website, itsgoodtoknow.org, or by staying tuned right now. I am so thrilled to welcome to the show Rabbi Friedman. Hello.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Rabbi. You know,
Having 14 children is not an amazing accomplishment.
From someone who
raising them is an amazing accomplishment.
From someone who has birthed and raised 0 children, I can tell you that both really are amazing accomplishments. And speaking just for a moment, forgive me, of amazing accomplishments, one of the main ways that I was lucky enough to be connected with you is through this book that we are both in together. It's called Elevator Pitches for God. I've mentioned it on this show before. It's comprised of 71-page essays from all kinds of individuals, 2 of whom you are watching right now. And Rabbi Friedman's contribution I read this morning, and it's predictably fantastic. So welcome again.
You are very kind. Thank you.
You know, in reading about you, Rabbi Friedman, the thing that I was most interested in about your upbringing, of course, is the time that you spent in Prague. You were born in Prague. I know that you moved to the United States when you were little. And something that I think about a lot these days is that all of us are born in a particular time and place in history. I feel very aware of that right now with the time and place that I'm coming up in our country. And you were born at quite a heightened, shall we say, time and place in history. Can you tell us a bit about your upbringing and how that affected the trajectory of your life?
Well, I can't tell you much about Czechoslovakia, a country that no longer exists. All that is just a blur. I came here actually when I was 3, so I don't remember anything of those years. My father was in prison part of that time. So it was a very difficult, painful, frightening time for the family. My older sister and my younger sister were born. And the miracles and the self-sacrifice and the devotion, and it was a time of heroics. We produced so many heroes, bigger than life. The times demanded it, and we rose to the occasion. I say we, but the Jewish people. So it was an amazing time. And at that time, Czechoslovakia, or Prague particularly, it could be said safely, was the least anti-Semitic. It wasn't without its anti-Semitism, but it was the least anti-Semitic of the European countries. So my father surviving the imprisonment and eventually being released, I don't think it would have happened had it been Poland or Ukraine or other places. Czechoslovakia and Prague particularly are famous in the Jewish world for the Maharal, the chief rabbi of Prague, who created the golem. So I am very proud to be a Landsman with the golem. But because of it, there was respect for Jews, even as late as 1950. So it was an amazing time, an amazing place. And eventually, what it turned out to be is the turnaround where we had been forced to listen to the teachings, the morality, the religions of others. And now in the 20th century, the late 20th century, it turned around. We are now the teachers. We are now the voice of reason. We are the voice of morality. And the world is starting to listen.
When you say we, who are you referring to?
The Jewish people. The Jewish nation. I mean, we certainly have a strong voice. We are certainly on center stage. The focus is all on us, and it's been that way since after the war. Israel, of course, is the sharp lens, but the world is looking to us. The world is looking at us, sometimes with daggers in their eyes, sometimes with questions, and sometimes with desperate hopefulness that maybe the Jewish people will save the world in the end, which would make a lot of sense. But that's where we are today. We have an absolutely astonishing opportunity, completely unexpected. We are in the center. We have the microphone. The world is listening. And we really better say something good or lose the opportunity. So, yeah, it's a very exciting time to be living in. Confusing, terribly confusing. But that's all the more reason that the Torah, which has been our guide through life, is now more relevant and more important and indispensable than ever. It doesn't get old. It keeps getting newer. I think that's the important message. The Torah keeps getting newer, more relevant, more cutting edge with every passing day.
You may
And
know.
that's pretty.
Oh, forgive me. Please go on.
No, no, no. Your turn.
Well, this whole thing is your perpetual turn, so please do feel free to override me at any time. But I just wanted to corroborate your point about how the Torah is new. I grew up in a secular household, and I was lucky to discover the Torah thanks to my colleague and co-host Dennis Prager. I'm not Jewish, but I came to be utterly fascinated by, riveted by, and enchanted by the Torah through Dennis. And one of my favorite stories in the Torah, which evinces your point about its eternal relevance, is the Tower of Babel story. And I think that really speaks very well to our time right now, specifically with technology. I've done shows here on Timeless about how new all of this is, how new the internet is, how new the iPhone is, how new things like Netflix and Amazon Prime and food delivery services are, and AI. All of this is so new, and it has deadened and transformed the human experience by keeping us in our apartments on the computers, on our phones, and not out in real life. And I did a show, Rabbi, recently on this program where I said we should pay attention to what God warns us in the Tower of Babel story, to not just create for the sake of creating, for the sake of making a name for ourselves. We have to make sure that when we are advancing, we are doing that with appropriate guidance. And so I just wanted to say that again to substantiate your point, and also to ask you, if you could pick one story from the Torah that you think that every American right now should know, what is that story and why?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Good. That means it's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Of all the great stories. But just recently we were talking about this, so I'll just mention it again. The Jews had sinned terribly. God was very angry. And Moshe is pleading for forgiveness. Eventually, God says, I forgive them, and I will send an angel to guide you to the promised land. This was in the desert. And our teacher Moshe said, I'm paraphrasing, he said, an angel? If you're not coming with us, we don't even want to go. And God said, okay, I'm coming. That is the most incredible story that doesn't get enough attention. I mean, first of all, the sheer chutzpah.
That's right.
We were just at the verge of extinction. God was so upset with us, he didn't want to talk to us anymore. And he forgives us. And he says, okay, I forgive you. And I'll send an angel to guide you. And Moshe says, no angel. We don't worship angels. We don't relate to angels. We didn't come here for angels. We want you. If you're not coming, we don't want to go. I love that story. We are partners with God. Without God, we've got no place to go. We're not interested in angels. We're not interested in religion. We're not interested in heaven. We're not interested in being saints. Either we're here to serve God and partner with God, or there's no purpose to the whole thing. And God was so pleased to hear that from Moshe. because, yeah, he's got someone to talk to. This is real. And so, branching off from that, the idea that Judaism is not a religion, it was never meant to be a religion, Jews were never meant to be religious, the whole notion of getting to heaven and securing your afterlife, where in the Torah do you see that? Of course there is an afterlife. We don't just disappear. But are we here only to get there? That doesn't make any sense. And that's not what the Torah emphasizes. So we know there's reward, we know there's punishment. Who cares? Are we doing a good job or not? That's what matters. And we need to know this, because religiosity is toxic. It's not all good. We need to keep things pure. God created the world for a reason. He told us what the reason is. He told us how he's depending on us to make that happen. Let's have an update. State of the Union. How are we doing? Are we getting there? Can we do better? That's the issue. Going to heaven? There's a point in that.
We will, of course, follow up with this. But quickly, I do want to tell the audience about two things that I believe will enrich their lives. The first is investing in gold. Now, economists are warning that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation and the rise of global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, maybe it's time to make it a priority. I'm Julie Hartman, and I urge you to consider Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit prioritygold.com/golden for a free gold information guide. Plus, you can see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts are agreeing right now that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings by tying your money to something tangible, no matter the economic climate. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Again, that's 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist, or you can go to prioritygold.com/golden to learn more. That's 1-800-405-GOLD. In addition to gold, many of the problems of the world can keep us up at night. And that's why you need a good pillow to sleep on. I use my pillow. I sleep on the Giza Dream bed sheets. I use my towels and I wear my slippers. And you can get a lot of these products at a massive discount right now if you use the promo code Hartman. Right now, my pillow is having a $25 extravaganza, which is just what it sounds like. 2-pack multi-use My Pillows for just $25. My Pillow sandals for $25, 6-pack towel sets, $25, brand new 4-pack dish towels for, you guessed it, just $25. And for the first time ever, the premium My Pillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. Orders over $75 will receive free shipping. Just go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Hartman or call 1-800-566-6745 today and use the promo code Hartman. Now, Rabbi Friedman, you were saying, which is so compelling and important right now, that God created the world for a reason. What is that reason? And then you went on to say we need to figure out how we are doing, do a kind of state of the union about how we're doing. I want us to first clarify, though, because a lot of people don't understand, myself included. I don't know if I fully understand. What's the reason that God put us here and created this world?
If we could only get the world to ask that question, we would already have a much, much better world.
Yes.
speaking about the big questions, that's got to be the ultimate question.
Yes.
It's got to be the question that we cannot avoid. And if we don't answer it, then we know nothing. Because if we don't know why we're here, then what do we know? It's just so fundamental. In the past, maybe we were too consumed. We were too desperate for our survival to be bothered with philosophical questions like why. Now it sounds funny, like why am I here is a philosophical question. It's the most fundamental question of all. What's going on? Children are saying, I didn't ask to be born. It's not a philosophy anymore. It's a vital, visceral need to know. Why am I here? I didn't ask for this. So you have people suing their parents in court. They want their parents to pay all their bills for the rest of their lives because they didn't ask to be born. So you brought me into this world without my consent, and you want me to work hard to pay my bills? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem right. You brought me into the world, you pay the bills. The parents, of course, all say, hey, we didn't ask to be born either.
It's a good retort.
So, yeah, and it's true. So what is the point? And religion doesn't answer the question. To say, yeah, life stinks. You can get out of this world and go to a better world. Really? How do I do that? Well, die. I don't like this plan. So no one really explains why we're here. Religion tells you how to get out of here or where you're going to go when you're out of here. But why are we here? Just to get there? Isn't there a direct route? So this question, if we just asked it, we would be better people. Taking life for granted is so unintelligent because it shouldn't be taken for granted. It's not that great.
It is. It is so unintelligent. I have to say, I didn't think that I would be discussing egg and sperm with you, but I will for a moment because I recently did some research and I did a segment on the show about the statistical miracle of our being born. It's 1 in 400 trillion that the right egg and the right sperm, again, it wasn't on my bingo card to be doing a talk show, and it certainly wasn't on my bingo card to be doing a talk show interviewing you talking about eggs and sperm, but here we are. It's an amazing thing that the one egg and the one sperm of all the millions of different combinations and iterations and that could have happened met to form you. And we think that because there are 8 billion people in the world and there right now, and that there have been billions of people who have lived, that living is a common thing. Living is an uncommon thing. We need to compare the billions of people who have been on Earth with the mega trillions of people who could have been here on Earth and are not. So I think what you are saying is so on the money. It is an unintelligent thing and a morally immature thing, but an unintelligent thing to not contemplate why we are here. I know that you say that, sorry, please cut in.
No, I'm just saying that, we get very sanctimonious about the sanctity of life. And we get very upset if someone gets killed or somebody gets ill. What are we taking so seriously here? and it doesn't deserve to be examined? What is life? For what? You live, you struggle, you die. Well, you had a good life. For what? Good for what? And this is not depression or being cynical. It's just a very important question. So it's true life is sacred, and it's true that every minute of life is a blessing, but how come? What makes it that way? What's about life that is so special? And why must we celebrate life and protect life and defend life and grieve when life ends? What is that all about? If you take it for granted, you're not living. You're not alive. You're just existing. So that question alone, even before we get to the answer, if everyone woke up in the morning saying, why? Why am I here? We're immediately better people. More thoughtful, more conscious, more mindful. And then we must find an answer. No answer is not acceptable. So when my grandfather tells me that God spoke to us at Mount Sinai 3,300 years ago and gave us the 10 Commandments and the Torah, oh, that makes sense. Somewhere, somehow, God is going to tell us why he created us. How could he not? Why would he not? So the Torah turns out to be God's explanation of why he created the world, of what he is after, and how we can partner with him to make his world his, the way he prefers it. Okay, now it makes sense. The challenge is, can we do it? Can we make this world godlier than heaven? Because that's the objective, God's objective. We're just trying to help out.
If God's objective is to have us, his children, who are created in his image and likeness, make this world, to use your words, holier than heaven, why not just have us in heaven? You know, why even put us through the rugby scrum in the first place? Why does, if God is God, then why does God want us to do this if there is a heavenly holy alternative?
I love this conversation.
I do too. Thank you so much for having it with me. I'm very honored.
This is exactly where we need to be. Thinking of these things, talking about these things, and getting it right. When God created the world, as it's described in the Torah, on the first day God said, let there be light, and there was light. And on the second day there was a heaven, and on the third day there was grass. And God just created every day something new for 6 days. On the sixth day he created Adam. And God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will create him a helpmate. And so he created Eve. And the obvious question, which very few people notice, why did God have to say it? What was that statement for? It is not good for man to be alone, so I'll just go ahead and create whatever you want to create. You're God, you're doing great, you're on a roll, everything's working. What was that statement all of a sudden? Someone's like, what are you justifying that you create a woman? You got to explain why? Just go ahead and create whatever you need to create.
A lot of men would want God to answer why he created woman.
It got women into a lot of trouble, the misreading of that. just incidentally, let's stop for a moment here. The exact wording is not, it is not good for man to be alone. That is very wrong. The exact statement is, It is not good if only man exists.
Wow.
So
Well,
what?
that's important. I mean, that's
Oh,
that's
yes,
that's just about everything right there.
yes.
Please say that one more time, Rabbi. Forgive me. The exact wording is
Okay,
what?
good, good. Here's the difference. People say, translating the Hebrew, God said it is not good for man to be alone. It doesn't say that. God said it is not good with man alone. So what's not good? It. What is that referring to? Creation. Creation is not good if only man exists. In order for creation to be good, there has to be a woman as well. But let's go back to our topic. God says to Adam, it is not good to be alone. He's talking about himself. He finally has someone to talk to. So he says, let me tell you why I'm creating you, because I hate being alone. Why do I hate being alone? Because it's not good. God is alone before creation. There's nothing besides him. Nothing. And yet God creates the world. You got to ask yourself, why not leave well enough alone? You've got everything. You're perfect. You're eternal. You're almighty. You're endless and infinite. Why are you creating a world? So God says, I'll tell you why. Because I'm the only one. Because there's nothing besides me. That's not a compliment to me. That's my issue. So I'm creating you so that I have you beside me. That is so romantic.
Wow.
I'm not good if there's just me. With you, I'm good. That's what God is saying. Now, why did he have to say it? Well, he wanted to explain himself to Adam, but also by saying it, he created within humans that same instinct. And this is really a very current, cutting edge issue. We happen to be a very lonely generation.
Indeed.
It could be the most painful aspect of the 21st century.
Indeed.
You know the famous song Piano Man?
Oh, I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs.
Okay, so you'll know the line. They're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone. Brilliant. There is loneliness and there is aloneness. Loneliness you can share. You go to a bar, and you find other lonely people, and you share your loneliness, and for the moment you're not lonely. But then you go home and you realize you're not lonely. You're alone. And that's horrible, horrible. It weakens your immune system. It makes you vulnerable to every disease. And the question is why? Because it's confusing. It's not good to be alone. I would love to be alone. It's so much easier. We hate to be alone, and yet everyone you talk to says, oh, leave me alone. I can't. What's going on here? Do we want to be alone? Do we not want to be alone? The human nature, the human instinct is to be alone. I don't want to be responsible for you. I don't want another burden. I've got my own existence to take care of. Give me an island where no one will bother me and I will be fine. That's the human instinct. Alone is great because the presence of another human threatens me, makes me uncomfortable. So unless you exist for me, like a slave to my needs, then you're my enemy. That's the human instinct. It's like people say, why can't we all get along? After all, we all need the same thing. It just drives me crazy how insanely meaningless that statement is. Can't we all get along? We all have the same need. No, we can't get along because we all have the same need. We all need the same dollar. We all need the same borders. We all need the same air and water. If we needed different things, we would get along great. But we need the same thing. So you're my competition. Even Cain and Abel couldn't get along because they needed the same thing. How were they supposed to know that there was enough for 8 billion people? So the human instinct is, leave me alone. Stay out of my life. Leave me alone. But God said, it is not good to be alone. And by saying it, he created it. So now, our human nature pulls us to be alone. Our godly nature hates being alone, because what's the point?
Why is it?
Go ahead.
Why is it that God did not want to be alone? If you look at the Christian perspective, it's that God wasn't alone when he created human beings. God had angels, and that was the whole, the idea that a third of the angels fell and joined Satan. I sort of want to fit in of course, this could go in many different directions. I'm very curious about your thoughts on the Christian idea of the creation of evil, because that's very important. That's as important as why we're here, why evil exists. But let's consider the alone question. Your stipulation is that God did not want to be alone, and he was alone. The Christian stipulation is that he wasn't alone. He had the angels. How would you respond to that?
This is the beauty of it. Angels don't have free will. Angels don't have their own personalities. Angels are little pieces of holiness, which God created, so that after creating the angels, God was still alone. It's like if you had a clone of yourself, you would still be alone. There's just more of you. Romance means having someone other than you, not another part of you or more of you. So God didn't have anyone to talk to even after he created angels, because angels don't have an opinion. Angels don't have a choice. There's no one to talk to. Angels are holiness.
Forgive me for interrupting you, Rabbi. I just want to understand. From your perspective, what are angels? You say they don't have free will. What are they?
Well, there's the angel of kindness. There's the angel of death. There's the angel of mercy, the angel of healing. These are all divine aspects embodied in an angel.
Why is death
So
a
the,
divine aspect? I thought that, and by the way, all my questions are obviously coming from a place of wanting to understand. So I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be impertinent by interrupting you, but how is the angel of death something divine? Isn't death the antithesis of divinity?
no, life and death is in God's hands. The beginning of life and the end of life is determined only by God.
It's fair.
Because death because of sin is not very holy. But life terms, that's God's business. So God has angels that take care of his functions, of his doings. So he has the angel that does his kindness, and he has the angel that does his healing, and he has the angel that does his mercy, and he has the angel that does his death, bringing souls back to heaven. This is all him. There's no personality there. You know, the stories in the Torah, in the Bible, where people spoke to angels and asked them their name, and the angels never answered. I don't have a name. I'm a divine expression. There's no personality to an angel. Human beings are much greater than angels. That's one of the big differences between Judaism and Christianity. When a person dies and goes to heaven, he doesn't become an angel. That would be a step down. Each angel has one attribute. That's all it is. And it doesn't have freedom of choice and has no opinion. A human being has 10 faculties. You, a human being, can be an angel of kindness and an angel of mercy and an angel of judgment and an angel of death. We do it all. We are complete personalities, and we have freedom of choice. Now, God has someone other than himself. Let's put it in human terms. If you love someone who can't love you back, then it's not love. It's like loving a tree. You cannot love a tree. Love means to be drawn to someone who can be drawn to you. The tree can't love you, so you cannot love a tree. But let's look at the opposite. What about something that must love you and has no choice but to love you? That's not love either. So your dog is going to be loyal to you. The dog is going to give his life for you. Not that it has a choice. So real love means you love someone who could love you back or could hate you back. There's that little element of risk. Then it's real love. So God says, until I create someone with an entire personality who has freedom of choice, I'm still alone, even after creating mountains and oceans and angels. I've still got no one to relate to. That's romantic. So yeah, the angels were created on Monday of creation and on Thursday of creation, but God was still alone. An angel is like a robot, not a personality. So going back to the point, what is it that God is after? God wants a relationship. The only creation in which a relationship is possible is a creation that is not already godly. If God created only heaven, he would remain alone. Because heaven is him. There's still no one else. God created earth, which is the lowest of all creations. What makes it the lowest of all creations? It is unaware of its creator. Angel can't be unaware of its creator. It is constantly super conscious of its creator. So it can't ignore God. We are the only creatures who have intelligence and freedom of choice, and we are not naturally aware of our creator. It takes some thought, some study, some wisdom to recognize that the world did not create itself, that there is a creator and the creator has a purpose, and so on. So let me just put it concisely and dramatically. We have been told by everyone for all of history that we are so needy, we are so dependent, we are so weak, we're so fragile, life is so flimsy, that we need to be praying to God all the time. Maybe he'll be nice to us and give us what we need. God, on the other hand, he doesn't need anything. He needs nothing. He cares about nothing because he's God and he's perfect. What does he need? So yeah, when he's nice, in a good mood, he'll be nice to you. Doesn't need you. That is such a distorted view of life. It is so shocking that we lived that way for so long and that it took this long to realize that that is upside down and backwards.
That's right.
He created the whole universe and he needs nothing. I created nothing and I have a long list of needs. This does not make sense.
This is also rich. Our burgeoning conversation about freedom of choice, this ever relevant idea that it is not natural for us to think of our creator or to understand ourselves in terms of our creator, even though that is the most fundamental part of ourselves in our lives. And of course, what you just said about a distorted view of life. We have so many distorted views of life right now. And that's why I so appreciate this conversation. For those who are watching, we're going to pick up this conversation tomorrow. And so I'll be continuing with Rabbi Friedman. These are big questions to consider, and we know it's a lot. And so we're breaking it up into 2 parts. But we will continue with this with Rabbi Friedman. So please do come back to this channel tomorrow and check out the rest of this conversation. But before you go, I want to tell you one more time that right now is a really good time to not only contemplate the big questions of life, but considering investing in gold. Economists warn that tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation and the rise of global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. In times like this, you should consider calling Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit prioritygold.com/golden for a free gold information guide. Plus, you can see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Again, right now is a really, really good time to consider tying your money to something tangible amidst all of this global and economic volatility. So please do consider calling Priority Gold at 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit prioritygold.com/golden to learn more. That's 1-800-405-GOLD. Thank you so much for being with us. I hope to see you tomorrow for part 2 of this conversation. Be well. See you soon.